All right, looks like I'm live. I'm going to be drawing the Three Rivers Comicon event poster today, live. We're going to get right into that. And real quick, if you're not familiar with the channel, welcome. This is my Draw or Die Club, little virtual drawing club, keeping artists inspired, whether you're a professional artist or an aspiring artist. If you've been in the game a while, you know what I'm talking about. We stay encouraged here, draw every day, and we've got some cool things going on. We've got the 28-day drawing challenge going on right now, so I'm going live every night at 8 p.m. except for tonight because I think Super Bowl or whatever. But we do the nightly drawing prompts every single night for the February month of February. So that's just a look at some of the ones that I've been doing. Really fun stuff. So we've got 28 different drawing prompts. Check those out. Also, over here on the Draw or Die website, drawordie.club.com, we've got some merch to help artists stay inspired. All the brushes that I'm drawing with tonight are for sale over there, and you can follow all of our work on the drawordie.club.com. But today I'm going to get right into drawing because I've only got so many, maybe a couple hours to bust this poster out today. So we're going to get right into that. I'm going to talk about that. I'm kind of go full screen here as much as I can. Let's see, right there. That'll be good. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is kind of pull open my reference shot, kind of talk about the concept here. John from New Dimension Comics reached out to me and asked if I would draw the event poster this year. I drew the original logo for Three Rivers Comicon a couple of years ago. You might see it there. And the concept here is we're going to do a homage to the Amazing Fantasy number 15 cover. I keep saying 16, it's 15. First appearance of Spider-Man, right? Got a couple different views on that here. So instead of it being a Spider-Man, it's going to be like a comic book fan swinging over the city. I'm going to draw instead of that building, it'll probably be like the PPG building. I got some reference for that here. Also took a shot from Market Square, so maybe something like that. Maybe not as extreme of a perspective for this shot. I'm just going to do as much as I can. Maybe the bridge in the background. I don't know. The bridge probably doesn't work for that angle, and he's probably going to have some, carrying some geeky stuff around. So we're just going to get into drawing that, and I'll talk about some of the memories from Comic-Con's past in Pittsburgh. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep that reference up. And really, for something like this, when I'm approaching like a poster and not like a comic book page or something, I'm just going to look at the overall composition of what's happening, so we can kind of tell that it's a tribute to the original cover. So I'm just going to kind of sketch these, throw a couple new layers underneath here. We're going to see that basically some other people might be working on this. I'm not sure. I'm going to do as much as I can today, but we got some clouds back there, so that kind of separates the header from that. This will just be the layout, right? Then we'll get into the pencils and stuff in a little bit. The inks, colors maybe. Shrink this down a little bit. We're just gonna, sometimes I draw, small just to get the composition kind of down. So we're gonna just know that that's gonna be some sky. We want our dude coming in. right around here. Something can go smaller so I can just kind of get the shape of where the guy will be or the pose. And, we're not going to make it Peter Parker, but I also didn't want to like make it stereotypical comic, comic nerd, something like that. I don't want to we want it to be a comic book fan kind of on his way to the convention, but it doesn't make a lot of sense that it would be a kid flying through the air. So I think it's probably going to be, maybe Peter Parker, but let's not say that because, Marvel. Let's just leave off who it might be or who it might not be here. So yeah, we'll have this action going here, right? And then I'll blow this up and I'll actually do a little more figuring out of the form. Instead of it still kind of looks a little stiff to me. Let me just try that again. Just clear that out. Didn't even warm up today, so just kind of got right to it. I think if I'm zoomed out more, I can catch a little bit more of the action. What could be? Underneath his arm, it won't be kind of like a guy. It'll be like a short box, and I think maybe we'll have some comic books flying out. We'll leave plenty of space for the graphics. I assume that there's going to be some dates and stuff like that. We'll get that, leave space for that. Kind of want it to be bigger. If you have any questions or anything like that, you can throw them in the chat, the live chat. Try to look at them in a little bit, but mostly I want to get to the actual drawing of this. Let the dog out here. All right. It's pretty good for that. We're going to have the building, same thing, kind of. I guess this is what you would call a thumbnail if you're not familiar with drawing comics. We're just doing a little composition perspective. So this here will be let's just say it's going to be the PPG building somehow. So our perspective will be kind of like a little bit like that. Right. It doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. Nor does it have to make sense. Like, the perspective doesn't really need to make sense. Like, this bridge that I might put back here isn't really there. Like the Fort Duquesne Bridge, I think that's what it is. But we'll just play with the composition as I'm doing it, because there's going to be, we want them to be saying something, just like in this. So there'll be some balloons there. And, we'll leave space for, David L. Lawrence Convention Center will be down here, this kind of stuff. And there's plenty of room up here for, the comic code authority box. We might draw that in. Some kind of little circle there. Maybe there will be like something here. Let's see. All right, so then that's my like little composition sketch, and now we'll fade that out. Like really fade it out, right? I'll keep the little Spider-Man drawing up just because, whatever. Since I kind of know it's probably something like Peter Parker, but not Peter Parker. I'm going to say that again. This is not Peter Parker, but it might be a young guy that looks like Peter Parker. So please don't come after us, Marvel. He may or may not. I'm just going to draw in red pencil here, but it'll be black. It'll be inked. We want it to look like a heroic. Maybe he's going to be wearing a classic Three Rivers Comicon t-shirt that you could, purchase at the show. From Todd and the gang. Put something on his shirt there. You can always check back. I'll be here for a couple hours doing this, so if you want to check back and skim through and see how it came out, bookmark it. Like the video before you leave if you're hanging out. Make sure you like the video. It kind of helps the channel. And we'll get to the facial features in a little bit. I don't really want to lock myself into that until the inking stage, Not Peter Parker, just a guy that maybe looks like Peter Parker. Right. It's looking okay. Also, when once I start throwing some inks and stuff on this, we can have a little fun and make it kind of more our own than just the pose and all that stuff. Baggy shirt, he's not wearing a skin tight suit. Little short box of comics here. Legs a little bit. It's very long perspective on that original Spider-Man. The proportions are very exaggerated there, but we're not trying to be like anatomy accurate, anatomically correct there. Just want to have them wearing some like Chuck Taylors, I think. Get that. Once I get this main layout done, then I'll talk a little bit more about memories of the Pittsburgh comic scene, some of my favorite stories and favorite creators from here. Right. Maybe we'll darken that in. That can all be black. They only asked me to do the inks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep. I like to do some coloring too, so we'll see. We'll see how much time I have here today, and I'll provide them with the inks and the colors. They can choose to use what they want for time sake. Or maybe we do like a coloring sheet for kids to. That's a good idea. We'll add more detail whenever I'm at the ink stage. I don't want to mess with that too much right now. I think that's pretty good. Next, we'll figure out this building. This is the PPG paint building. Pretty iconic. Pretty iconic building here to put for Pittsburgh. So just figure that out right now. I think you could probably just draw that building and people will go, oh, okay, Pittsburgh, right? Again, I don't think it matters that it's like completely architecturally accurate. We're just trying to get the likeness of the building, I guess you could say. That might be one of the trickiest parts to do on this cover, is just to make the building look accurate enough that people go, oh, it's Pittsburgh. But it's probably one of the most iconic buildings in downtown, I think. So you could get crazy and be like, well, you know, the angle's off, the bridge shouldn't be back there, that building should be this building, but it's a comic book. You know, sucks the fun out of it when you're too accurate. So we got a little like a spike in the middle here. My kids used to call it the castle building. Dad, look, there's the castle building, the glass castle. There's actually not much to this building. It looks like there's more than there is, but it's a lot of lines to figure out. So actually have the little tiny spears in between. So right there. That. Okay. And then there's just a lot of like, a lot of that I can do in the inking stage. I'm not really gonna do it all now, just to kind of remind myself that that's the way the lines are going. You know. Okay, so now we gotta do the same thing over here. We got a center pillar that's a little bit there, and then we got little ones here, a little smaller. Good enough for a sketch. Good enough. We'll just draw right through that. It's good. So I'm not worried about it. Mess with it more. Well, I'm going to fix that line though. Cheat it out a little bit later with the inking stage. You'll see what I mean. Oops. This could be a very challenging building to draw if you, but the trick is getting these corners right and then not really worrying about all the geometrical angles and stuff. People will look at it, briefly and go, oh, Pittsburgh. That's kind of the idea there. Some guy flying over Pittsburgh. Right. And then again, we'll just put some lines there to remind myself of which way the glass is going. It's probably safe to just do that. About every half an inch, just put a line. If you don't like hearing people, I think out loud when I'm drawing at this stage, when I'm not telling stories. I'm just kind of letting my inner thought process hit. Just saying it out loud. So like right now, I'm just kind of putting these quick lines in to kind of remind myself which way the glass is going when I go to ink it this. I'm not trying to make it look architecturally accurate or anything like that. If you see that from a distance or on an 11 by 17 poster, once it's in color, it'll look like the PPG building. I do need to have another building over here. And where was it? We're just going to pretend that we're looking at this angle from Market Square, even though we're not. It's not the exact angles, but I want to focus in on that old school building there. So like something like that for this guy over here. And on that original Amazing Fantasy cover, there's some dudes on the roof and stuff like that. I don't know if we'll do that. I don't know. Let's see. Oh. Come on now. Just get to the right angle. Maybe a little bit more of that building in there. Since pull that in a little bit. Yeah. I think what's funny about that original cover, let's go look at it real quick. The original Spider-Man cover. has something pretty funny on it. Let's look at this one. So these dudes that are on the roof, right? Like if they were actually that size, when you zoom in at the quality of like what the figures were, they weren't drawn especially that well, to be honest. They were just kind of in the distance in the background. But the funny thing about this cover is if this guy here, look at how small those windows are that he's right above them. So he wouldn't have been able to fit in that little window. So, you're going to see that a lot with comics, like some people have built their careers on it. Todd McFarlane and all those guys from the 90s, like a lot of them were just faking perspective and stuff like that. And, it's no different here, really. Although I'm not going to draw, not going to draw guys that small on the roof or that big. I just want to highlight the fact that we're up in the air. So that'll be the first row of windows there. This will be the second row of windows. Here. We'll just keep going down, I guess. Where's the building I was using there? So 3 windows. Walk that out. And 1. 2. 3. Get in here, erase the lines in between. It's not bad. We're about half an hour, 30 minutes in here. We got some of the pencils done, like the rough pencils. I'm not going to do tight pencils. I'm just going to go straight to inking here in a little bit. And we'll figure out what's all that garbage there. Won't get too crazy with the architecture. It'll just be maybe like a square there, like a get a little more detail when we go into the inking. Correct some of those bad lines. And again, it's just supposed to look, like when you look at it, it's a building. That's the trick. You could sit and spend 15 hours on making a realistic drawing. It's not really comic books to me or cartooning. It's just capture the likeness of the building, enough. You don't need every single line that you might perceive. These are all just things that you, I guess, learn, over time. A lot of those guys that are on, monthly comics, they got to find shortcuts for backgrounds and stuff like that all the time. So that's why a lot of that stuff was rushed in the 90s. Well, every time, all time in comic books. There's a lot of skipped skipped corners, cut corners. QVZ. Hey, thanks. Gotta just keep drawing every day. Draw every day. Because I'm sure that there's people watching this that'll peek in, that some of my old school friends that are like, TJ, what are you doing? Just not doing that right. Like, don't worry about you. Don't worry about you. I'm going to draw these buildings the way I want to draw them. It's going to look rad in the end. It is interesting how I never thought about it really until right now, but the idea that just like you can draw likenesses of people, you can do likenesses of buildings. So if you just capture the thing that makes it look, similar to what the situation is in real life, then it could suspend disbelief. And like, because technically this building here is not as tall as that building, but we're not going to worry about that. It just needs to be there to kind of emphasize that he's up in the sky. And now that I see where he is compared to what's going on here, do we want him to be more? I could pull him up a little bit out of here. Right, we can lift him, make him a little bit more, a little bigger. We can also use the what do we call it? The focal points. If you do this tic-tac-toe grid in any shape, those are the focal points that your eye is drawn to. So you're going to look at the building, you're going to look at his long box, you're going to look at his expression on his face, the fact that he's flying over the city. Those are the focal points of where your eye is just naturally going to draw to. So let's get rid of that layer. Right. We might even be able to tuck the whole drawing a little bit to the right. Just a little bit. Show a little bit less of the just a little less of that. Okay. Yep. And then, like I said, I think, for me, when I think of, like, John's like, hey, just throw any buildings in the background, and that, is reminiscent of Pittsburgh. But to me, I gotta throw like a little bridge right here, even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because you might see the bridge from a certain angle looking out over the Fort Duquesne Bridge, but that's a pretty iconic bridge, so I'm just going to go ahead and just throw it back here. Right? It doesn't matter. There are no rules here. I got a picture of the Duquesne Bridge too, so let's take a look at that. As long as I'm getting the the main beams. See that? See that little triangle there? That would be the way that the crossbars are. I'm not going to get all that. I'm just going to be able to get this. So we're going to put those there. And we'll put one here. And I think two will do it there, because if we're over here, we'll have the other cross beam that's in the background over here. And then we'll have Another over there. You see what I mean? And then we'll have the cross beams coming across like this. It's a little tricky, but it's going to look pretty, they should cross right in the middle of where those beams are. You got to go this way. And then that way. So we're this way. Again, I'll get in there and I'll detail that out a little bit more when I'm inking it. Just want to remind myself that there's these little holes in the beams, right? So it's going to be so small, no one will even see it. So who cares? I might even just get rid of the bridge, to be honest. Doesn't need to make sense. Maybe the building needs to be a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to grab that. Test that out. That's looking better. Do that. We'll make the building a little bit bigger. Yep. That's better. And we don't even really need the bridge, to be honest. I'm going to get rid of it. We'll keep it there for right now until I decide what I'm inking, but I don't think the bridge is necessary down there. I'm going to make these choices while I... And then we're looking at that original cover, and I did forget that there's going to be some speech balloons there. Darn. Okay. Not a problem. Bump him back down just so that there is enough room for the... that, and then we'll move this building back over. Tilt it a little bit, maybe. Move the bridge down, because I think there's going to be some, copy, some kind of text there. So we'll just keep that bridge hidden a little bit, tucked behind there. And then, so now he'll have room there. Okay, great. And because we've got like the sky back here. Right. Let's do it side by side. Of the homage and the cover. One more not bad. I mean, you clearly, if you're a comic fan, you're going to know that that's what that is an homage. But now we can have some fun, and maybe the lid of this comic box isn't completely on, because one of the ideas I had was that it's that there's some like comics peeking out. Maybe it's even better if it's open. And his hand will be like on the side of the box over here, so you might not see it. Maybe some fingers right there. It's a little long hand. Never mind. Forget that. Okay, we'll keep that because it'll make sense that it might be cool to have like a balloon here saying like we put the comic back in Comic-Con, and then yeah, I think that's cool. And hey, Gary. All right, cool. This is kind of the rough pencil stage. I'm going to take a look and see. Like, I'm just real particular about if they're doing an homage. I think the thing that really we already know it's going to be the homage of this, but there'll be space here for 2 word balloons, and he'll be saying something. There's space down here for where it is, David L. Lawrence Convention Center. And we got a little bit of space here for some. I'm not gonna get too crazy on what buildings or what, because if you're at this angle technically over Pittsburgh, then you might be looking at Mount Washington over there. Like trees, really, honestly. Maybe the incline, but listen, stop it, DJ. You just need to stop. Do a circle here of some kind. Don't know what that'll be. And I flipped it to be 3 Rivers on top and Comic-Con on the bottom, but they don't even have to use this logo if they don't want to. They can turn that off and just put their own in there if they want. But I just tried to, it might be fun to do like a weird Comics Authority stamp up here that says something else besides do that. I don't know what it's going to say yet. We'll figure that out. Figure that part out. Approved by the Comic-Con Fan Authority. Let's get real. Let's get it. Let's just put that box there that has that MC just for fun. Maybe we can add something to it later. I'm not really worried about it. And then I don't know what year this is for the Comic-Con, but maybe we just go ahead and put this block in there. Right now. Right? What else is on this page? I won't mess too much with the caption box down there or anything like that. I don't know what's going to be on his shirt. I think it's going to be the classic 3 Rivers logo. So I'm going to grab this. This one. Cut and paste. Now we got it. Oops. Nope. Nope. Cut and paste. Uh-oh, what did I do? I broke it. All right. paste. Now it should be. Come on now. Nope. I'm just going to turn that one off because it's causing me trouble. It's the original logo that I drew for them years ago. So we're going to go ahead and freeform this. Now I can stretch it to where I want it to be. It could be small, it doesn't matter. Color that yellow when we get to that part. Right. Yeah, that's neat. Okay. Gosh, his leg is really long. So is Spider-Man's leg over here. It's very long. That's gonna bother me. I gotta fix it. Just tuck it in a little bit. It's a little ridiculous. Oh. Where are we at here? There we are. Just need to tuck it in just a little bit. Okay. Cool. Maybe don't want to noodle with it too much, but maybe you could have like some stickers on this comic box. But the reason I took the lid off the comic box is because I kind of want some comic books to be flying out. He didn't have these ones in Mylar sleeves. You see. Now we can use the comic books as kind of a way to show where it came from, kind of like motion line, sort of. And I'm a fan of the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man webbing, so I'm going to just do that for that. But I can do that in the inking stage, so I'm not too worried about that. Which we're going to get to here in a few minutes. Right. And I can't resist. We gotta do something with someone on a roof. So there's gotta be somebody over here on this roof. Maybe some cosplay people or something. It'd be funny if there's like a Spider-Man cosplay over here. Like Maybe this should be like, comics are freaking awesome from the rooftop. See, and unlike the other cover there, Hey Hero Hotel, Gary. Unlike the original Spider-Man cover, which I showed over here, showed this a little earlier. It was funny that this guy here on the roof couldn't have fit in the little tiny windows. Here's a better shot. It's like either a giant dude or that's a tiny window. Unlike that, I want to make sure that, if these guys climb out over this ledge, they could fit in that window. But they're so small on this that it's not going to matter. We don't need that for right. We don't need the reference anymore for right now. Come on. Come on. There we go. Right. Okay, yeah. So, it was about an hour, 56 minutes on the rough pencils here. That's about right. Don't know what these guys are going to look like, or I think they should be cosplay, so there's probably going to be a Spider-Man cosplay because that could be funny. And, maybe like a Thor guy over here with a helmet on. I think that might be funny too. I'll leave that as like a little treat to myself, to get in there and have a little fun to that. Okay. All right. I'm not going to worry about extra buildings back here. That's just too much. This is a poster. This is an event poster. So, I'm not even worried about Mount Washington back there. That's stupid too. Like, honestly, the more you noodle with stuff, I'm gonna merge these. The more you noodle it, it won't matter because there's going to be like, David L. Lawrence Convention Center. Get your asses over there for some comic books and awesome times. Oh yeah, that's right. Two guys on the left are Lee and Ditko. Or do you mean Jack Kirby and Ditko can leave stand? No. All right. That's what we're working with. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn off that original sketch. And let's just work on this. So I'm going to fade that out. All right. That's pretty good. You can still see the pencil lines. All right. Get up here on an ink layer. Up above. We'll go all the way to the top just so I keep this separated. Ink. Let's go with that old school inker brush like that. I won't ink that line for the clouds because that should be like a coloring point. That'll be like the when I get to the coloring point. So we're just going to go ahead and start inking this dude, who is not Peter Parker, but he's a kid with some spider webbing and he's got some glasses. But for the purpose of this promotional poster, he's not Peter Parker. Maybe he's like another universe. Peter Parker Pete. I'm going to do one thing though real quick. I'm going to isolate this layer. And now I'll be back to that. No problem there. We'll get to that in the coloring stage. Usually, if I'm doing most of the art myself, I'm just jumping around doing different parts, or I'm trying to speed up the process a little bit for myself. But now we're kind of getting into the, you know, the meat of it. The meat of it. I think those. It's okay that it's like a nice black T-shirt because I think the T-shirts for the Comic Con are black and yellow. You know, Pittsburgh-ish. I'm not a fan of this really long arm, but you got to do it because it fits the Spider-Man hand or arm from the cover. Love that spider web wedding or spider spaghetti webbing style. It was my favorite. It's a, you know what? I just figured it out. It's Peter Parker cosplay guy. That's who this is. It's not Peter Parker at all. It's just a guy cosplaying as Peter Parker. Didn't close off those shapes. That. And probably that. Let's see. Now I'll move this guy up above. That will isolate. It's already isolated, so I can just come in here, grab like a nice yellow, and should. Oh, come on. Magic. Magical. All right. Cool. Yeah. So talk a little bit about, while I'm inking this, I can talk a little bit about, the history of Pittsburgh Comic Cons, and there's been so many. We have so many, and honestly, I'm going to say it. I'm going to declare it right now that I think that Pittsburgh is the number one. Why is this brush so big, guys? Pittsburgh is the number one comic town in the country, comic city, because there's New York, yeah. A lot of those guys don't live in New York anymore, and a lot of them, So yeah, there's some people in New York, but comic book city wise, Pittsburgh just has some kind of magic happening in the water here, and it has for years, and it was kind of unknown. Let's say people were, Portland and all this stuff for a long time. And I'm glad that most people don't know that Pittsburgh's an awesome comic book town, because I don't want a whole bunch of people coming here. But who do we got? We got, I'm thinking of classic guys first, the old school, like Don Simpson, Dandy Don, and Ron Friends, Spider-Man, Ron Friends, Spider-Girl. We just had Lee Moder pass away, right? He was the co-creator of Stargirl. He did tons of stuff. He was a writer, comic writer. Nice guy. Jeez, 53. Anyways, rest in peace. The who else we got? We got the new crew, Tom Scioli, which is funny to call them new because they've been around forever too now. But Tom Scioli, Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor. Jim's an old friend of mine for sure, from the same hometown. It's the cartoonist kayfabe guys, all award-winning cartoonists, by the way. These are award-winning guys. We got old school guys too, like Ernie Steiner. Did I say Don Simpson, Ron Friends, Ernie Steiner? New school guys like Jim Rugg, Tom Scioli, Ed Piskor, Dave Wachter. We had guys like Steve Lieber. He moved to Portland, I think. We used to be proud to say he was from Pittsburgh. No, we still are. We love you, Steve. Got Scott McDaniel still kicking it around here. He does a lot of the stuff with the local Comic-Cons. He just had some comics. I don't know what everybody's working on. I'm sorry, guys. He's still kicking it. Black Box Comics or something like that. And then we got... who else? Well, we got fantastic cartoonists all over the place. We got guys. There's a whole National Cartoonist Society chapter here, run by Wayno. I think it's still run by Wayno. I don't know. Mark Zingarelli's from here. We got cartoonists like Pat Lewis, Vince Dorse. Who else, guys? Rob Rogers. I mean, there's probably more cartoonists per capita in the Pittsburgh area than any city. I tell you, I'm just kind of quiet and hiding out here, but man. And then there's the unknown guys, which I kind of consider myself one of those dudes, I guess. Friends like Barry Link, he's way beyond. He's been drawing his comic for years, decades now, man. Phineas, Magician for Hire. We got Jared Catherine, those dudes. Mikey Wood, Sean Atkins, brilliant, unknown. Like, they're just there waiting to be discovered, or something, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe they don't want to be discovered. But we got some talent in comics in the Pittsburgh area. And then we got all these fans everywhere. We got all the comic fans here, plus, and it's enough comic and pop culture fans to support. How many conventions do we have now? I see Joe Goblick. You're on here, you probably can help me. How many conventions are there now? We got 3 Steel City Cons. All right. We're not going to talk about other conventions too much because this is the Three Rivers Comicon. We're going to talk it up in a minute. But yeah, we got 3 Steel City Cons. Then there's Three Rivers Comic-Con. There's a couple on the outskirts, like Sci-Fi Valley. I think that's still going on. I say like at one point there was at least 4 or 5 Comic-Cons happening per year here. Or let's say Comic-Cons, quote. Pop culture cons, fandom cons, whatever you want to call them. And I think we go all the way back to Pittsburgh Comic-Con, the original Pittsburgh Comic-Con. And that's where I met a lot of these dudes. And when I was out there, hustling with my mini comics and stuff like that. And the old Pittsburgh Comic-Con had a flavor to it or like a vibe to it that was way different than other Comic-Cons I'd been to. I'd been to like San Diego Comic-Con a bunch of times before that, the 90s. Of course, San Diego Comic-Con is just massive, right? But these old school Comic-Cons always felt more creator-centric, or you could go meet the creators of the creative team. It wasn't like dudes with like Artist Alley wall of prints guys and fan art. It was like you could really go meet the inker, the colorist, and so I don't know. I don't want to get into all the drama with the the Pittsburgh comic scene, but the Pittsburgh convention scene. But yeah, Pittsburgh Comicon went away. Wizard World bought it, I think, and took over the convention downtown. Because up until this point, all the conventions had been done in Monroeville, which isn't really in Pittsburgh proper. And the David L. Lawrence Convention Center is the really nice one. And now Three Rivers Comic Con is being held there now. First couple years it was held out of town a little bit. But those first years of the Three Rivers Comic Con I'm talking about now just felt special. Like I had never in my life experienced a Comic Con like that. I'd only heard about Comic Cons like that from up in New York where you're on the ground. The whole thing was pretty much like comic shops and comic creators, and it just felt good. There was something that felt good about it. And all credit to Todd McDevitt, who's the owner of, I don't know, Todd's got like an empire of comic book shops, but he's always been very supportive of the local comic scene and comics in general, but New Dimension Comics, Todd McDevitt runs that. John Engel, longtime manager of the shop there. And I think I've known those guys forever. And I'm going to tell the story here in a minute, how I first met Todd, because it's a funny story about my mini comic and how he turned me down the first time I went in his shop. Funny story. But Todd just has a real love for the comic medium, and he's always buying comics. I don't know if you knew that. If you ever see the flyers around, it's like, always buying comics. That's the guy. He'll come and he'll buy your comics. And so, yeah, great crew. Always a great crew at New Dimension Comics. I wish I lived a little closer. I'd probably be spending a lot more of my money there over the years, but I'm a little bit out of town. So yeah, he saw a void, and I think he felt it too. Like, I'm gonna have to be the one that steps up and does this. And I don't think he wanted the responsibility at first, but then he just realized, like, I am the one I'm waiting for. I think I'm just Todd. I'm paraphrasing for you from conversations we've had. I just got to do it. I'm gonna be the guy that runs a Comic-Con now. Because up until then, you had good people like Renee running the old Pittsburgh Comic-Con. It's just a lot. It's a lot to do. And then Steel City came rolling in, and that's a fine show too, I guess. But these other Comic-Cons these days feel like, well, my friends call them the Celebrity Zoo. So if you know what I'm talking about, then you know. But people come for the celebrities and not really for the comics. So it's fine to hang out and have all that comic fans and supporting the culture of fandom and stuff like that and cosplay. But there was just something missing. The vibe of actual creators, And, a few years ago, before pandemic times and all that, when he did the Three Rivers Comic-Con, he asked me, hey, I need a logo. And we went and had some beers and hung out. And I think at that point in my life, I was kind of like, okay, this is my last push. I was in a year where I was like actually going up to New York and meeting with some editors and stuff like that. And I was trying to get some work in comics and trying to get beyond my own little success that I had with Hero by Night stuff. And I wanted to work. I was like, okay, if I'm ever going to work for the big guys, I got to get up there and network and all that stuff. So I was like, hey, Todd, I'll do the logo for you. I usually charge, a lot of money for logo work. And I'm like, but I like you and I like this mission. And all I want from you is, hey, give me a table spot there, give me some credit. But also, if you have any connections, because I didn't know anybody really, I'm always kind of on the outskirts of things. And I'm like, if you know any editors, something like that. I don't think that we never really did any of that, but But Todd's always been really supportive of anything that I was doing. Bought a bunch of my books. Bought a bunch of the local guys' books for sure. You know, for me personally, I don't I love comics. I love the art of comics. I love the art of storytelling, but I'm not a big fan of the industry, how it works for creators. So I make more money doing other stuff, you know? So for me, it's just more about when I'm doing comics, I'm doing it for the love of it. And that's why I like folks like Todd. I mean, of course, he's making money with his shops and stuff, but I like the people that are really down and love that could talk about storylines and comics and stuff all day. Todd's definitely one of those dudes. John and Todd. They know the creators and they are very supportive of all that. But meanwhile, I'm not going to diss on other shows, but there are other shows where I tried to network with people and say like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have like a workshop for comic book artists that you're either crickets or not really supporting of uh, creators in general. Let's say it was just sort of like, hey, you're a cake kid, pay for this table space, and I'm like, hey, what if we do something for creative? And they're like, what? We got we got tables to fill. Ah. But if you go to someone like Todd and you're like, hey, I got this crazy idea, he'll be like, all right, let's do it. I think that's accurate, right, Todd? He's probably going to listen to this later on I doubt he's listening right now. But yeah, he's done some fun things. So all credit to Todd McDevitt for how many years is it? A million years. Todd, you're an old man now. But I appreciate what you've done for the comic scene around Pittsburgh. Maybe he probably doesn't even think about it. But imagine the amount of people that his shops have inspired. Because he's got like, what, 3 or 4 New Dimension comic stores. Great place to discover comics. By the way, this isn't Peter Parker. This is a Peter Parker cosplay guy that's swinging over the city. Um, but I can only imagine the amount of people that were inspired by that. And then beyond, Todd's shop, we have all kinds of other cool shops in Pittsburgh. Fan of the Attic, you know, always a great place to discover some new cool comics, indie comics. And then we got Ides downtown there somewhere. That was one of my original comic book shops. And now I'm going to tell the story about how I met Todd for the first time. Back in the 90s, I was doing a little mini comic called Your Mama. If you know it, fine. If you don't, please don't look it up because very crude humor now, and I'm a grown up now. But I was hustling around in the 90s. This is back before the internet or anything like that. So I'm about an hour out of town too. So I got the addresses for all the comic book shops, and I'd go down to the city, up to the city, I guess you could say, and deliver my mini comics around. And Ides was one of the first shops that in the city that loved the Your Mama mini comic and was like, hey, it's sold out. Will you bring more? So I was making these regular trips to the city. And I wasn't making any money, but it was fun to just put those comics out there. And I drove all the way up to Cranberry, which is about an hour and a half drive for me, because I heard, hey, there's this shop up there, New Dimension Comics. You gotta get your comics in that shop. And I go in one day, and I have my friend with me, Bob, and I have my issue 1, issue 2, or issue 1, and I'm like, hey, I go in, and Todd's at the register. And I think I told him this story. He doesn't remember this part. But I came in and I'm like, hey, man, I did this little mini comic. It was just really crude. And I'm like, no charge. Just I'm just looking to get put it out. You can sell it, keep the money, whatever. I don't care. Tell me when they sell out, and I'll come back. And he's like, "No, I don't have any space for this." He was just kind of he wasn't rude, but I think maybe he was dealing with some stuff that day at the shop, But I perceived it as he was blowing me off as if like I was a nobody. And well, that's cute, but we don't put shit like that in our store. It was only like Marvel, DC, and big wig stuff. And I'm like, oh man, okay, but I'm giving it to you for free. Will you check it out? Like, yeah, you can leave it with me, blah 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 blah. And I was like, all right, this guy's a jerk. So I was real young and fiery and stuff. So I was like, fine. And I was like, here you go, have fun, read it in the bathroom. That's kind of what I said when I left. And then the next issue of the comic, I actually drew that experience, but a little bit more highlighted or a little more exaggerated. And it was me and my friend going to the shop trying to distribute our comics, and uh, my friend's peeing in his shop. That didn't really happen, by the way, but in the comic, it was Bob peeing in his back issues, and we're like, no dimension comics, you know. So we actually like made fun of they have no dimension, they don't know indie stuff, whatever. And we made fun of the shop, called it No Dimension. And then the great part of this story is months later, I get a letter in the mail because remember this is before internet times. I get a physical letter in the mail from Todd, and I'm like, "What is this?" And he's got a letter. I got this letter somewhere, and he's like, "Oh my God, I finally had a chance to read your mini comics. Please bring the new issues to the store." And I'm like, "Oh no, he cannot see this new issue because we're totally making fun of his shop." Oh. But I was like, "Cool." He liked it. Like the it was satire of the comic book industry. It wasn't very nice satire. It was very crude and very rude stuff. If you know, you know. That's what I got known for around Pittsburgh a little bit. It was the dark humor stuff. And I was okay with it for a while, but over time you start to have, I think, empathy for, like I said just now, like in my mind when I was in my 20s, he was blowing me off. But now as an adult, I'm like, man, he was probably having a really shit. I think I talked to him about this, and he was like, I was probably having the shittiest day at the shop, and I'm really sorry. I didn't know that I came off that way. And I was like, no, don't apologize to me. I was a nothing, no snot nosed kid. Um, but that's how I met Todd. And then years later, he would anything I was working on in comics are I did a lot of I did more indie comics than I ever did anything. I never did anything mainstream really. Brushes with it, but not. But anything I was working on with James Patrick or Brian Lynch, Monkey Man, all the independent stuff I did, he was always, hey, cool, what do you got going on? Or he'd see me at the Comic Cons, and there was always a good vibe with Todd. So, um, bought a million Hero by Night comics when that first came out. So yeah, I was very honored because he knows some really, he knows some really famous comic book dudes, So it was kind of like an honor for him to ask me to draw his logo for his Comic Con. He could have got Ron Friends or any of these dudes, unless maybe they were too expensive. And, but now I think it was a nice. Actually, Actually, I'm not paying attention right now. I gotta fix this. I messed something up. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm gonna ink this on a different layer of this building. Yeah. Okay, looking pretty good. Just kind of zoom out and take a look at it. About an hour, 25 minutes here. We're getting there. This is tricky because it's a different size than I'm used to doing, so I'm gonna ink it on a different layer. And then I didn't do Comic Cons for a long time. I pulled myself out of comics entirely. I just kind of went commercial art. I made a lot more money with commercial art than I ever did doing the comic book stuff or web comics. I did a lot of web comics, and I was always really good at knowing how to make money online. So I continued to do that stuff. And I won't get into how sad it is that the comic book industry is kind of, it's a bummer that some of the old school artists have to struggle to get work, or, I don't like that. I think we should take care of the old school guys as much as we can. I won't say their names, but it's quite a struggle to stay working and relevant and make a living, a really good living in comics. It feels like it shouldn't be that way. It feels like we should have more respect for the people that actually built the city of comics, But what do I know? What do I know? Again, I'm going to kind of fake a lot of those lines. Get in there. These other lines that are in the building can be very thin. Still thick lines. Oop, messed that up. But yeah, back to Pittsburgh Comic-Con. It's been nice to watch that they finally got into the David L. Lawrence Convention Center, and it just seems like a good spot. I'm glad that they're still there. And some people were like, there's no parking. I'm like, there's a huge parking garage right there, and it's only like $10 or something for the day. And then it's a cool spot because, you got a lot of cool restaurants down there. You can make a day of it. You're in the heart of the city, and it just feels good. I don't know. Now, people that just like to go to Monroeville, I get it. Because there are people from outside of the city. Not many people in the city know this, but on the outskirts of the city, like Greensburg and Westmoreland County, around where we live, people are afraid to drive to the city. They think they're going to get mugged, or they think that there's danger outside of these little tiny walls of these country bumpkin towns, Greensburg and Irwin. There's a ton of fans out here. They'll go as far as Monroeville, but it's like, I got to go through a tunnel. Like, it's too far for me. But then when they finally get brave enough to kind of come downtown and go like, wow, this is amazing. There's all kinds of stuff down here. And, you know, we're very fortunate to have all these comic book stores and Comic Cons and fandom around here. It's just great. Feels good. I would say for the most part, everybody's really chill. You know, comic creators are pretty helpful of each other. There's nobody that's like, I hate that guy, or whatever. You know, it's not really much competition. It's like a camaraderie of um, support. I'm always happy to see guys that I don't necessarily like. I'm not like necessarily a fan of their actual work, or I wouldn't pick up their books if I saw it on a stand because it's not my speed, you know. Like, but when I see, I'm not going to say their names, but when I see their work out there getting acknowledged, I'm like, this is great. Like, good for them because this is a hard game to be in, hard career path, and I feel like, especially with like the Jar Die Club, you know, the idea of supporting each other as artists is important to me, and I like that part of it. Um, like a rising tide lifts all boats, you know. I like that vibe of Pittsburgh. It might feel like sometimes when you're like, no, so, I don't, you know, I do have some friends in the unknown circles that are like, you know, it's the classic like a little bitter of someone else's success. Like it should have been me, but like you gotta get out there and work. You know, you gotta get out there and work for it. None of these guys were handed anything, and you can do it too if you really apply yourself. But then I tell those guys like, well, you know, be careful what you wish for because it's a lot of work. It's not just happy fun times in the comic book world. It's once you get a job, how do you keep a job? How do you did your book sell? Is it relevant? Like there's a whole business side of comics that's not sometimes not great to deal with. So if you just love making comics, just go out and keep making your comics, and you know, don't worry about the. Let me thicken the lines up a little bit. But I don't feel that. I don't feel that a whole lot in the comic scene here in Pittsburgh. So we got another whole. It's strange how like cartooning in general is kind of separated still. There's comic strip artists and there's comic book artists and there's web comic artists. And to me, I'm just like it's all cartooning to me. But still, there's these segments of people like the cartoonist societies in town, and there's a group of people that meet. And they're all in the same circle, but they're separated. If that makes sense. If that makes sense. What I'm saying there. You could just go like that. No. Don't know what's going to go in there yet. That's just a marker for where the box goes. Right. Not too bad. This is looking pretty good, I think. Definitely an homage to. It's achieving the goal of homage to Amazing Fantasy 15. I'm going to keep the bridge back here, even though that doesn't make much sense. I'm going to keep it. Doesn't make sense in perspective wise, but who cares? Suspend your disbelief for a moment. Yeah, I miss going to shows, I guess. I'm not really, I'll be there at the Three Rivers Comicon, but I'll still have I'll basically be there for the Draw or Die brand. So it's there to support other artists and talk to artists and have conversations about the future of the craft and, encouraging. I like to hear people's stories. I think hearing other artists' stories or, some of these classic guys around. I like to dive deep into the craft and the thinking of comics. Like we tell stories in the Draw or Die Club about what was your first time that you remember looking at something and going, somebody drew that. I call it like the epiphany moment. For me, it was G.I. Joe 21. And for others, it was, or maybe, I knew the comic strips in the newspaper. I would do that when I was a little kid, like copy the comic strips in the newspapers. And that was the first thing I think I wanted to do was be a comic strip artist. I didn't really care about comic books. And I did do that. I did have a comic strip in the newspapers for a while, a year or so. Then you just learn like there's not a whole lot of money. It's not a great career path, to support a family on and stuff like that. It's tough. So, but I would just draw comics now for myself. There we go. We got a little tiny hint of a bridge. The Duquesne Bridge there. Wait. Let's put that there. All right, great. Okay, cool. Let's do this building over here, and we'll figure out who those guys are going to be on top of the building. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I think it's going to be cosplay people because it's a Comic Con, and you can get away with having like a little Spider-Man and like a guy with a Thor helmet or Batman. Batman. Makes more sense, I think. Like, hey, cosplay kids, get off that roof. It's dangerous up there. Right. Yeah, but I had a lot of fun last year at the Three Rivers Comicon because I set up the Draw or Die table there, and I was just like, people are like, what are you working on? I'm like, this. It's like a support group kind of for like a drawing club for creators, keep you inspired and keep you motivated and drawing every day. A lot of people quit. They quit doing art. They quit pursuing their passions because of that feeling of, oh, I didn't make it in comics or something like that, or oh, I was published for a while and then things fell apart and they quit, and then they just hate themselves. They feel the urge to draw deep down inside, and that's why it's called Draw or Die, because whenever I don't get to draw, I just feel kind of dead inside. I feel kind of, and then I would talk to other artists and they'd feel the same way. And I'm like, okay, well, we can, real simple fix there. We just draw every day, even something small. And I started putting out the newsletters last March. So it's been almost a year now. Weekly newsletter that's kind of talking about things like imposter syndrome, um, creative discipline, things that professional artists deal with, things that aspiring artists struggle with. I like to talk about all that stuff and look at alternative ways that we can make comics again in different. Nothing's new, but there are ways that we can work smarter in comics. Because I think there's just something about static, sequential panels, panel to panel storytelling. For a while there, we had a lot of Hollywood folks, or let's call them fancy software people, coming in and going like, you need to have your comics need to have music and a little bit of motion, and I'm like, then it's not a comic anymore. Like it loses something, because I think maybe Scott McCloud talks about it in Understanding Comics, about how the magic of comics really is that the reader creator connection of comics is that a lot of the story is happening in the reader's mind. In a movie or television show, you're being fed exactly how the director wants you to see it or feel it or whatever, and the pacing is just however the director sees it. But with panel to panel sequential comic book art, it feels like, this is just my opinion, I don't know, it just feels like a lot of it is happening in the reader's mind. They can digest it at their own pace. Sometimes they're flying through a story, sometimes they're really observing what you're doing. Like, you might have those favorite comics of your own that you read and you're like just looking at the panels and just looking at the words and rereading what the character just said and really absorbing, like, how did he say this, or what energy or what emotion was behind this thing. So you can really like absorb your favorite comics. It's hard to do that with movies or animation. When the credits roll, it's like, that was great, guess I'll watch that again, or whatever. But there's something magic about, that's why comics is a unique thing. And I've been on fire about 4-panel comics for a long time now. So I got a couple videos about, or I have a video about that up. But the idea that you don't have to make a giant graphic novel and bury yourself in all this work. You can put out incremental storylines, smaller, like 4-panel storylines, like the old school daily comic strip, adventure strips. And society has kind of like leaned back into that whole feeling of bite-sized snacks, shorts, reels. They get a little taste, they want more. Battling with binge watching. So people do want everything all at once, but are they going to actually sit down and read an 80-page comic? If you spent a year making it and then you just put it out and they binge it, it's the one and done, But with the daily incremental stuff, you can actually build a community around your work in a more meaningful way, I think. Gary says drawing is part of my personal therapy. I feel so much better after a good drawing session. Yeah. Yep. And there were times I was drawing my online comic strip at the second round of times I was drawing comic strips online. And there weren't many people reading my comic, and I didn't really care. I wasn't doing it to make money. I was doing it because I wanted to tell those stories and have fun. And if you happened to find them, you were part of my crew, and felt like friends playing with toys or something. Like I'm telling you a story now, and you're like, "Oh, that was cool. What happens next?" I'm like, "I'll tell you what happens next." It's just like a fun element to it. That's what I like most about comics, I think. So there we go. We got a building down there. I might, for the sake of the border of this, since I know that this is a poster, I'm just going to go ahead and black this out. We're going to make the side of this building black. Let's see what that was. Yeah. Just to kind of give it a nice edge. And, you know, graphic design wise, if it's going to have some information down here, I want to lead the eye through to where it's going to go, right? So we could even add some black here. Maybe even like, you know, you can get into some more darkness down here so you see how the composition of the page, the darkness can kind of pull the eye down into what the information is going to be like at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. Come get your tickets and get your butts in the door. Right. Just kind of ink that in real fast. Spaces here between. So now you got his shirt, kind of blends in. This building pulls you down. This little blackness of that building pulls you down into whatever is going to be in that block there. Let's see. All right, just for funsies, I'm going to put in some text here. I'm just going to write, they can change it whatever they want. Add some text. Come on. Add text. I'll change that text to a font called Spinner Rack by Blambot. Metallic. They put the comic actually like the bold, and then we'll take care of the letting. They put the comic back in Comic-Con. Put the comics back in Comic-Con. All right, we'll do that. Shrink this down. Tilt that a little bit. Maybe not they. We'll just go like we put the comics bold back in Comic-Con. We'll bold that too. They might have a letter or something working on this, but I'm just gonna put this in because I'm for the sake of the stream here. I don't know what the second balloon might say, but I'm going to go ahead and just put them here, and this will be on the files that I'll give them. And I like to make my own balloons. And put the comics back in Comic-Con. Okay. And I know from that original cover, sweet. I think on that original cover, there's some really dark, thick, extra thick border around that. So we'll just do that too. Let me just move this. Maybe even tilt it a little bit. I like that there. That's cool. Great. I think I can merge these two now. These layers. All right, I'm going to be right back. Gotta go check something. All right, back again. What do we got here? What's next? All right, zoom out here. Oh yeah, the guys on the roof. Let's just draw them in real quick. Go back to the pencil layer. Go to phase 2 of the drawing here. 1 hour, 55 minutes. Looking pretty good. Go back to my regular brushes. Right. Since they're going to be noticeable enough, I'm going to go ahead and just pencil these guys in on their own little layer here. Oh, wait. Are they on that layer? Yeah. All right. Let's just do another layer on top of that just to get it right. Come on. Come on, you. There we go. Hey, thanks. It's looking pretty good. It's getting there, you know. A couple details to add, like these guys on this roof, just to kind of echo the. You know what? I'm going to use gray. Just 'cause. This guy's going to be in a Spider-Man cosplay form. All apologies to, like, you know, Ron Friends here. Could draw much better Spider-Man than me. Put a little backpack on him. This guy will have like a Thor cosplay on. Not really important that they're just enough to, you know, as if it's a kid wearing a Thor outfit, you know. I thought I was going to make this Batman. We'll make a Batman on here too. Batman, Thor, and Spider-Man, because we got to show DC some love, I guess. We'll give him a hammer. It can be small. Right, because they're pretty tiny guys over there on that building. It's the problem with drawing digitally is you want to get in there and really noodle around, but you got to just get to the let's draw like a really dorky Batman here just for fun. You know, he's just gonna be like hanging out. Hey. thumbs up. So we can get a little cartoony in these little these little ones here. Utility belt action over here. You guys need to get away from the edge of that building, you cosplay kids. Right. Cool. Fade that out. Just throw a little bit of ink on them. Just enough. Just enough. Again, these are going to be so small that I don't want to get too much into the webbing or anything like that. Just enough to hint that there's webbing on the guy, and he's got a backpack on, so we know it's it's a cosplay kid with some comic books or posters. Poster tube? No, that's too much. I guess I could have drawn like well, it's too small, but I'm, just trying to be thinking about being inclusive and maybe draw like a female character on here or something, but, it's so small that, I don't know. Maybe we just stick with classic icons here. Maybe a Wonder Woman. That would have been all right. You can see how pixelized things are when we're this small. So it's such a small thing that we're doing right now. Let's see. Oops. It's a homemade Thor costume this kid's got on. Don't worry about it. Never you mind. It's actually not black. Yeah, it's just is what it is. Great. One little Batman here, back here. Silly little Batman. Oh. Such a happy Batman. Uh-oh. Let's see here. Okay. Same thing. I don't know what will be on these, stickers. Read more comics. Let's give credit to the kayfabe, cartoonist kayfabe, marching orders. Read more comics. I hope they go to the show. I hope they make a presence there. Maybe do a kayfabe panel or something. That would be fun. Support. Support your local comic shop. Support your local. Move that up. Comic shops. Really leaning out of the frame there. Really getting into that drawing there. Okay. Oh, come on. Apple Pencil was wigging out there for a minute. Okay, cool. Let's, throw a little color in here. So we're going to start with flatten out the main character here. That's not Peter Parker. Totally not Peter Parker. So I was thinking about this drawing. It'd probably take, 2 to 3 hours total if I did the whole thing. So I'm just going to throw some color on it just for the sake of it. I'll give them the inks, and if they want to have someone else color it, sweet. But might as well. I'm here, got the time. Might as well. I'll leave it to them to decide if they want to have someone else work on it too. I'm open to anything. I don't care. But I just kind of feel like coloring it right now. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. Just because I've been doing these nightly drawings at 8 o'clock for our daily drawing prompts, and I've just been getting right into doing some coloring, just because it's fun. I kind of see how I want it to be colored right now, and I'm like, I'm going to go for it. Gonna go for it. Let's go. If you're watching, make sure you like the video. Only subscribe if you want to see more drawing or inspirational stuff for artists. Otherwise, this channel's a waste of your time. Because every night, at least once a week, we do the podcast at 7 p.m. Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. Well, I'm getting it all wrong. Thursday at 8, we do a podcast usually, and Wednesdays, I'm usually doing drawings, Wednesday warm-up. All month in February, I'm coming live at 8 o'clock, except for tonight, because I think the Super Bowl's happening, and I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do an 8 o'clock stream tonight. I don't think there's going to be enough people to watch, and I'll just draw the... I don't know. Maybe I will. We'll see. All right, so we got those. We got him on that layer. Then we'll have the buildings by themselves on another layer. Colors. Plus, it's just, really fun to just color, I think, lately. Got some fun brushes to use here, and I like to use them. And once I get this blocked in, the coloring goes pretty quickly these days. And maybe if it's not the best coloring, maybe their colorist or something can use what I suggested and make a go of it. Let's see. Right. But first thing I do here is just block out so I can isolate the layers. And then it makes my coloring go way faster. This will be fun. do the bridge on this layer too, and the other building. Enough. Good enough on that side. Let's just. Right. Oh, come on. No. All right. There we go. Not that I'm trying to speed up or anything. Kind of concentrate. Usually about after 2 hours into drawing, if I'm doing really long streams, it can be, you get into the zone, your mind can just start wandering, and I'm not used to talking out loud when I'm in that zone. So right now I'm kind of in that space in my mind, I think. Artists know what I mean, writers. I just got to remember to talk out loud when I'm on the stream. And let's see here. Yeah, a lot of good memories from Comic Cons. You know, fun times. I think that's the most important thing about all of this. Comics, it's an industry, and yeah, people want to make money, but if you're miserable, it kind of comes off. But if you're having a good time and you really enjoy drawing comics and making comics and publishing comics, I think it draws the right energy to you at these shows. If you've ever been to a Comic Con and you're walking down and like it seems like everybody's desperate to make a sale, and you feel pressured to like, oh, I don't want to, you know, guy pop out and try to pitch you his book. I mean, it's part of the game, but it's also like, but when you see something that looks fun and that people are chill and everybody's just having a good time and you just want to be a part of it, the energy. I think that's a good way of thinking. If you're out there making comics, don't be desperate. Don't be desperate. Yeah, for the sake of this, I'm just going to color these ones in too. They'll be white or something, and something could go there. We could chop it up in Photoshop later on. But I know something has to go there. I forgot to ink the circle over here. Gotta ink that real quick. right, looking pretty good. All right, now let's go back underneath. Where are those the buildings? All right, so I got to do a layer underneath here. Turn off the. Well, actually, now I'm going to open up my color reference here for the original cover. And this guy made it more like reddish, which, for the sake of a Comic-Con poster, all right. And then this sky is kind of gray, so we're underneath that. We're going to make that line now for the shoot. Darn it. There we go. Put that in. Then we'll be behind this layer. There's another layer. Make sure that this layer I'm about to turn off isn't anything important. I don't think it is. So we're going to put another layer on top of that. And then I think it's okay if we go dark right up there. Maybe even more dark, and then we can fade it in a little bit. Let's change that color to a little bit of pink, right? So you can see what I'm doing there. Just matching the colors up a little bit. Although I kind of like the original looking behind me here too. It's more of like a purplish. Let's mess around with it a little bit. What do we got to do? Where do we got to be? The Super Bowl? I'm digging that more, to be honest with you. We're going to Purple Town. That really makes it kind of pop off up there. We'll put some texture in there. I can leave this part that color. We'll kind of go back to my other wash brushes here. Let's hit that up with some. almost to be white. Almost. It's okay if it's white. Just put on that blending brush and blend away we go. Cool. Looks pretty good. We'll get there with the building and the guy. I'm going to draw the color the guy in here first. And that kind of gives it a little bit of Spider-Man vibes. He's got some blue jeans. Could experiment and have it like a red shirt. Now that I think about it, they do have red shirts at the convention for the volunteers, right? Red shirts and blue shirts and all that. But we're going to make it a red shirt. See what I'm doing there? It's going to be kind of like the Spider-Man colors, but not, right? Okay, great. Get in here with the skin color now. Skin tones. Yep. Using a watercolor brush right now. It's nice and blendy. I'll make it nice whenever I go to the secondary color, the skin tone. Do his arm first here. And since it's not Peter Parker, you know, he has to have brown hair for our not Peter Parker cosplay kit. Totally not Peter Parker. Isolate that back. Go grab this gouache brush, change it to white. Then I'll hit up the middle of this balloon. Okay, what else? Guess we gotta give him some. It kind of looks like Matt Murdock now. Don't worry about it. He's got aviators on instead of. Not really too worried about the coloring here. I'm going to use the blend brush in a minute to kind of blend some stuff together if I want. And it's very subtle. That coloring is very subtle. Probably could even be a little darker, to be honest with you. Yep. Not bad for 2 hours, 35 minutes. Keep going. Just keep going. That long box, we're going to just finish up on him here. Short box, I meant. Call it a long box, but short box. Shadow on that. Just a little bit. use yellow. Because the yellow kind of pops out of the box, and then we'll go in and change some of those. So comics can be very colorful. So go around the rainbow here. To be kind of vague what's on these covers, you know. Super something. Because again, they're kind of in a box, you know. They're real small. So we just want to do a second tone that's a little lighter. We don't want to play any favorites, so we'll just put some titles on there that are vague. Some fire. Gonna make this go a nice red sticker on this box. Change the lettering to white. Again, these are just minor little details, but might as well do them while we're doing it. Very small. Very small, but cool. Same thing with, we'll put a blue sticker on this guy. It's got to be yellow for my like gold. The kayfabe guys. I don't want them to think that, you know, we're stealing their slogan or anything. So I'm going to put a little crown there. That'll be a little homage to, or a little tip of the hat to the King Kayfabers, Pittsburgh. All right. This is a beat up. You know, your short boxes get really beat up over time. Gotta go buy new ones at the local comic book store. All right, let's do this building. Before we do that, we'll just make these boxes white. White, white, white. Oh, no, 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 no. Mess this up. White, white, white. Hey, Gary. Thanks for watching. Tune in later to see how it all came out. Thanks for watching, man. See you soon. Stick with it a little bit longer here. I got a building to draw. Forgot his shoes. Let's give him some red Chuck Taylors. Yeah. Sounds like a plan. A lot of people are doing Super Bowl parties today. You know, if you're into the sports ball, but I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it. Put it on while I'm drawing or something. But I saw a window of time this afternoon where I could get this cover done for the guys for the not cover event poster. And I was like, I better do it. If I don't do it now, I'm going to regret it. I think they need it probably at least going well by February 20th. So that's not many days, 8 days. So they want to start getting some promotion out for this show and don't want to leave them hanging. See something real quick here. All right. We're getting there. All right, I think all of the fake Peter Parker is done. Do these comic pages in this little book. In about 2 hours and 46 minutes. Not too bad. Guess what comic that is? It's so far away. Small, minor detail. Cool. All right, I think we're ready to get on this building over here. Let's do it. Oops. This building over here will be kind of like a light green. Oh. All right. Back to this building. Go back to my wash brush. Put your blue. If you didn't know, the PPG building is Pittsburgh Paint and Glass, and this building is made of glass. It looks like a glass. Kind of like a fortress of solitude or something. there. Can't believe I didn't isolate that layer. Wow, sloppy. Not bad though for going pretty quick. Yeah, I think I'll leave that bottom part like that, but we're going to do some highlights up here. We can also isolate the layers, and since the little trick, of kind of fading out those layers on the building, or the lines on the building to like a dark blue. Come on. You don't want there to be like black. Let's let the black lines of the main character kind of pop out. Stuff that's in the background can kind of be a little faded out line wise. So I'm thinking about it. It's very subtle, but it lightens it up a little bit, makes it less harsh. Of course, we want the eyes to be directed at whatever the graphic is going to be on this page that says what website to go to, or all that stuff. Not too shabby. Now we can get in and do the oops. Talked about it a little bit earlier in the stream, but the idea of buildings just having a likeness of a building, maybe not architecturally accurate, but if you could capture the likeness of a building, like in this case, it's a pretty iconic Pittsburgh building. I might not even mess with it more than that, just because it looks kind of cool as it is. It's a little darker in real life, but this is a comic book cover or an event poster, so you want to keep it whatever. And down here we'll have the Duquesne Bridge is peeking out, even though, again, that's probably not completely accurate perspective-wise, but it's okay. It's just like a little touch of Pittsburgh in there, Then we're going to work on this other building over here. We will do the right. These windows. Most people tend to like make windows blue, but when you really look at a window and there's shadow and shade and stuff like that, light reflecting, I mean, again, this is a more of a comic book color or cover, so we're not worried about realistic stuff here. Joe Goblick says he loves Three Rivers Comicon because he can attend as a comic book art fan of comic book art and he sells his other work at local shows, but Three Rivers is one he saves for just having fun art. Thank you, Joe. You're one of the good guys. So many good artists in Pittsburgh area, man. So many. Crazy. I don't know if it's true or not when I say per capita, I think we have the best or as many comic artists as anywhere in one town, one region. It's pretty amazing. You know? Really fantastic. And different styles too. You could probably go and it seems like there's something for everybody. I like that. And I've heard the same thing from out of town artists that came to the show. Like that was a real special, something special about that show. It's like lightning in a bottle. People said it could never be done. You could never replicate the feeling of the old, Pittsburgh Comic-Con or whatever, but I think it's better than that. No. My opinion. I think other comic book shows could learn a lot from how the vibe, let's call it a vibe. I was having another conversation this week with somebody else that was talking about, do you think comics will survive? I'm like, yes. That's the answer, the short answer. For a lot of reasons, but even if the industry as you know it collapses in on itself, we can see that book sales at some of the bookstores are up. So it's going to be challenging for maybe some comic book stores to kind of get out of that thinking of the direct market and kind of how do you market to the fans and stuff like that and build up clientele over time because that's the game. That's the ball game, as they say. In a world where you can buy anything you want online, it's just nice to kind of go into a store, support a local comic book store. I wish I had more right near me. I'm kind of in a weird town. So I'm kind of stuck away from Greensburg now. I'm far away from Pittsburgh. Hour drive to get me anywhere really right now. I don't I don't read as much comics as I used to because I usually only support my friends' work or even then I'm missing a lot of my friends' books. I got the Hulk Grand design, but it's only because Jim Rudd gave me a couple copies. I hadn't ordered it. I feel bad, but I was just busy. And I think I'd go broke if I had buying all of my friends' comics. Got some debt to pay. Got to get out of debt. That's looking pretty good. We can mess with this up here a little bit in a minute. We'll finish this building, finish these little cosplay guys up here first. Put that in. These are so small, it doesn't even really matter as much, but little things matter. Yeah, you should have a blue backpack. Let's do that. Oops. It's so small, it's not going to make a difference, but it's pretty in there. Thumbs up. And those guys are going to be so small, it won't even matter. And there'll be a graphic block for information down there. That's cool. I did forget the webbing, so I'm going to go ahead and throw some webbing in there. Some nice blue. forgot about the white circle up here, which we don't know what's going in there yet. Figure it out. Hey, speaking of local comic book shops, here's Steve Gina from Joy's Japanimation in Greensburg. Hey, Steve. Long time no see. I'm trapped in Scottsdale, as I told other people. Literally trapped, because I went to Lake Trove the other day, and I took a back road, and there was some construction happening on the back road there, and I got stuck. A trip that should have taken me like an hour round trip, even stopping at the printer, took me like 2.5 hours. Because then I tried to go home through Youngwood, and it looks like a bomb went off. They're literally trapping people from coming into Greensburg. So I would like to come back to Greensburg more often, but it's a pain in the butt to get there from here. No. All right, you know what? I messed something up here. I'm going to go ahead and automatic. Cut this. Mess something up. That's what I was supposed to do. Then go back to the gouache brush. Nice little light. Nope, nope, nope. I don't like that either. Left your comment up there for a long time. See? Sorry. Steve's been to every single Three Rivers Comicon. I think all of us have locally. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I'm pleased with that. Building pops off. Talk to the gang over there at Three Rivers Comicon and figure out maybe if they want more information on here. I'll just hand this over in layers, and they can chop it up. They can recolor it. They can do whatever they want. It's looking pretty good. I've got to figure out where I need to sign this thing. I think I'm going to put it in the put it over here. Just in case they go across the bottom. We're going to sign my name up in here somewhere. And it could be subtle. I swear why I couldn't. Okay, now I can do it. There's my little signature down there. Good enough. All right. You know what? Not bad. 3 hours, 14 minutes for a nice homage cover. Let's take a peek side by side here at take a peek side by side at the original. Compared to this guy. Right. Okay. Not too shabby. You know, of course I could never compare to like a Kirby Ditko. I believe Jack Kirby actually drew that and then Ditko painted. I believe. Cool. All right, let's send this off. I think we're done with this stream. Let's send this off to the gang at Three Rivers Comicon. Take one last look here real fast. Thanks for watching if you peeked in. Don't forget, if you're an artist out there, Jar or Die Club. Help support artists, especially in the local area. We're around. We might do some more local hangouts, you know, now that the safer out there, I guess. Some get-togethers, little drinking draws, maybe lunch, food, whatever. Just out there kind of supporting each other. And this will probably be the official poster of the Three Rivers Comicon, unless they hate it. And then they might say, you know what, this is hot trash, DJ. Let's not use this. Forget this. But let's send it to them and see what they think. Hey, thanks for watching the stream. I'm going to go eat now because, you know, starving artist and all. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon. Check out the other drawing videos on my channel and stay encouraged out there, everyone.